Kaya kwaba kiji junang nunda, mandamang yaranga Wudandi buja. Hello, good to see you together on Wudandi country. Nagala kachi Wudandi yunga yali, the traditional owner, Wudandi buja. We acknowledge Wudandi people, the country traditional owners, and Wudandi country. I declare this meeting open at 5:32 p.m. Councillors and members of the public, please note this meeting is being live streamed and recorded. Shire President Jean Rice has requested to attend this meeting by electronic means. This will need to be a decision of Council at item 5 of the agenda. Item 2, attendance. 2.1, apologies, we have none. 2.2, approved leave for the Shire President Jean Rice. I now move to item 3, disclosures of interest. I have before me one disclosure of interest from Councillor Canal, and that is for item agenda 11.2.1, the Wudandi track construction. Oh, and I have a further declaration of disclosure of interest from Councillor Bell.
That is relating to item 11.2.2. That's an indirect financial interest related to short stay accommodation.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. If you just want to bring that forward, we can record that. Thank you. I now move to item 4, public questions. Just a note, we have a limit. We may limit the questions to 2, and we really appreciate it if people provide them beforehand. So item 4.1, we have responses to previous public questions taken on notice, and you can see those on the screen. There's a number of different questions which we have provided, I guess, the responses to, and these will also be available in the minutes. We now move on to item 4.2, public question time, and we have had a public question submitted by Dion Harrington. Dion, would you like to come forward? Just state your name and address, and we're happy to have your 4 questions. Thank you.
There we go. Evening, everyone. Dion Harrington, 148 Beck Road, Courtenay. I had 4 questions, so two more than what you mentioned, and I did submit them in advance to Emma Dixon. Before I get to specific questions, there's just a little bit of context just to the question. So my questions go to the proposed 2026-27 budget and the corporate business plan for 26-2030, both of which are before Council tonight as part of its integrated planning and reporting framework. On the 30th of April this year, the Regional Development Assessment Panel, RDAP, approved the Scott River Wind Farm with an estimated capital investment of approximately $500 million. This project does represent one of the largest industrial developments in the Shire's history. The approval assigns the Shire with significant ongoing regulatory responsibilities for administering, determining, monitoring, and where necessary, enforcing numerous approval conditions over the life of the project. In reviewing both the proposed corporate business plan and the proposed budget that were in the papers published online last week, I was seeking to understand how Council was planned for these additional regulatory responsibilities, and I haven't been able to identify where that planning is reflected. So my questions are really directed to understand that aspect of Council's strategic and financial planning. So the first question, which is really around organisational planning, what organisational capability, workload, workforce and financial assessment has Council undertaken to determine how it will discharge its regulatory responsibilities assigned to it under the Scott River Wind Farm RDAP approval? And where is that actually reflected in the Council's integrated planning and reporting framework, including the corporate business plan and the proposed budget? That's my first question.
Thank you, Mr. Harrington. Would you like to, I guess I'll put forward to the CEO, and would you perhaps like to read all of your questions out, because we do have them before us, just in terms of for councillors and members of the public, if you could read them all
Sure.
out.
So the second question, which goes to financial planning, what assessment has council undertaken of the financial implications of administering, monitoring and where necessary enforcing the RDAP approval conditions throughout the life of the project? And how has that assessment informed council's financial planning and proposed budget for 26-27? Second one. Third question, what assessment has council undertaken of which regulatory costs associated with the Scott River Wind Farm are recoverable from the project proponent, and which costs are expected to remain the responsibility of the Shire? Then there's, will ratepayers be required to fund any costs of the Shire in performing these additional responsibilities over the 30-plus year life of the Scott River Wind Farm? That's my third question. The fourth one, and final. Many of the RDAP approval conditions require technical plans and reports to be determined to the satisfaction of the local government, i.e. the council. How has council planned to ensure it has access to the professional capability and independent special advice necessary to make these regulatory determinations? And how will this impact the Shire from a financial perspective? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Harrington. We appreciate those questions, and thank you for submitting them previously, because we're actually able to answer them. I'll put them through to our Director, Director Stevens.
Good evening, and thank you again for submitting your questions in advance. I suppose with the wind farm approval, it does include a range of conditions that may require ongoing involvement from the Shire, as well as other regulatory bodies over the life of the project. However, at this point, we don't know when the developer will, or if they will, instigate that development and progress their plans. But as things do progress, we will assess and respond to any operational, financial, or specialist resource requirements arising from those obligations. And if there are material resource or budget impacts, we'll continue to consider them as part of our normal planning and budgeting processes. Also, I guess noting that we do oversee a number of existing and upcoming planning developments. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Stevens. Thank you, Mr Harrington. Thank you for your time. Are there any further questions from members of the gallery tonight? No? Okay, thank you. We move on to item 5, applications for leave of absence. Councillors, I'd like to move a motion as follows: that Council grants approval for Shire President Jean Rice to attend the remainder of this 29th of July 2026 Ordinary Council meeting via electronic means from a suitable place as defined in Regulation 14C of the Local Government Act 1996. Do I have someone who would be willing to move this motion? Thank you, Councillor Bowell, and seconded by Councillor Winter. Councillors, could we please put that to the vote? All those in favour? Thank you. That was carried unanimously. Actually, are there any other councillors who would like to call for a leave of absence? No. Thank you. We now move on to item 6, confirmation of minutes of previous meeting. We have before us that Council confirms the minutes of the Ordinary Council meeting held on the 24th of June 2026 to be a true and correct record of the meeting. Do I have any councillors who would like to move that? Thank you, Councillor Forte. And a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Dath. Councillors, can we put that to the vote? All those in favour? Thank you. That was carried unanimously. We now move on to item 7, deputations, and we have one approved deputation for this evening. Mr Giles, would you like to come forward and state your name and address, please? so sorry, Mr. Giles. I think the microphone isn't turned on.
How about that? Todd Giles, 441 Hadley Road, Witchcliffe, or Forest Grove technically. Dear CEO, elected councillors, staffers and gallery, thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight. Bit of history, folks bought here in 73, the bride and I moved here in 89. I'm in my 20th year of president of the Witchcliffe Community Association. 12 and a half years in the bushfire, Witchcliffe Bushfire Brigade, involved in sport, playing, coaching and the community in general. Over the years, as I watched the population explode here, 4, 5, 6-fold, probably more, and I've noticed a bit of a pattern occurring. Firstly, Margaret River Main Street. The Shire gets its hands on the main street, bang, crazy, confusing, poorly designed crossing points and about 35 parking spots gone. Quarramup, the Shire and the main roads put in a crossing point and take a lot of parking bays in Quarramup. Actually, I've had many phone calls from concerned Margaret River and Quarramup people saying don't let them ruin Witchcliffe's main street. Redgate Road recently, the Shire, with the lack of advertising and almost under cover of darkness, carried out major changes to Redgate Road, losing 10 to 15 bays. While on Redgate Road, the Shire has allowed a large number of businesses at the old Darnell property, including a bar and now a chapel. After a recent meeting with Sam, the owner, I'm told Dear Darnells can have 78 patrons and has about 12 staff, and the chapel has 50 patrons. Sam said there's quite a few occasions where the chapel and Dear Darnells are operating together. So 78 plus 12 plus 50 is 140 potential patrons and staff and vehicles for that property. The Shire ticked this development off with 8 bays out the back. So can someone tell me how does potentially 140 vehicles potentially fit into 8 bays out the back? That's not even enough for the staff. I've raised an official complaint with the Shire Compliance Officer 18 months or so ago and still have not received a reply, sadly. These parking problems from Darnells are causing chaos, congestion problems and social problems in Witchcliffe. While on Darnells, there's talk of removing the rear hard fence between Darnells, which is a liquor licensed, of course, liquor licensed area, and the Druids Hall. Sam's is great, don't get me wrong, but not kid-friendly with open ponds, sharp, dangerous art and effects. There are a lot of private functions at the Druids Hall, kids' birthdays, parties, weddings and private events, mainly held at the rear of the hall in privacy. So I like to recommend that the hard fence stays. If people want to go and see Sam's art, go around the footpath, enter the liquor licence and view his art. Sam was in favour of the hard fence staying. Main Street Concept Plan. The original Main Street Concept Plan for Witchcliffe had 6 crossing points in 240 metres. So that's 1 crossing point every 40 metres, which is about from here to the front door, I suppose, which was rejected by submission. The latest concept plan has 1 crossing point and a toilet and a bus shelter. Which has merit. But the nodes, a bit of concrete jutting out into the parking for a tree or a bin or a bike rack seems to me not to be necessary. All the above main streets are 40 kilometres an hour, as we know, and Witchcliffe has great vision north and south. So I'm requesting that these nodes are taken out of the plan, please, as they will inhibit ease of parking, ease of flow and parking vehicle problems for all types of vehicles and of loss of bays. Presently, it caters for road trains, trucks, farms, tractors, RVs, tradies with trailers, four-wheel drives, boats, cars, trailers, and I'd like to see it kept that way, please. Once again, to me, the quirky, unique little working town of Witchcliffe with its main street is not broken. It works very well presently as it is. It just needs a tidy up, drainage sorted, and better white line delineation. In finishing, I'd like to suggest a couple of visionary ideas, please. A parking bay adjacent to Bustle Highway from the service station heading south. I actually did suggest this to when they were doing the entrance into the Eco Village, was under construction but got rejected. Or even an overflow parking at the north end of the town at the Polo Cross grounds for long-term parkers for Witchcliffe. So I want to thank you very much for your time, and thanks for what the Shire does for Witchcliffe. It's appreciated. Any questions?
Councillors, do you have any questions for Mr Giles? Mr Giles, thank you so much, and thanks for all your community work as a volunteer. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll take your suggestions. We have a copy of your deputation, so we can
Yeah, no, we're very
refer to
passionate
that.
about Witchcliffe. I think you worked that out, so...
It's great.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We now move on to item 9, petitions. We have no petitions before us, so we move on to item 10, announcements. So since our last ordinary council meeting, there's been a diverse range of community, cultural and advocacy activities across the Shire. July marked the 50th anniversary of National NAIDOC Week, an important national milestone celebrating the history, culture and achievements of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. It was wonderful to see strong community participation in local observances, including the NAIDOC Rivermouth Gathering, which brought people together to celebrate culture, connection to country and community. The return of the Cabin Fever Festival for its 10th year attracted visitors and locals alike, showcasing the very best of the Margaret River region through food, wine, music and unique winter experiences. I would also like to acknowledge the many Shire-supported events delivered through the month, including arts and cultural programs, environmental education workshops, family recreation activities and community wellbeing initiatives. These events reflect the strength of our partnerships with local organisations and our ongoing commitment to fostering a connected, vibrant and inclusive community. Advocacy on behalf of our growing region has remained a priority. During July, the CEO and I, together with councillors, met with Minister Don Punch, Minister Jackie Jarvis and members of the Nationals WA Shadow Cabinet to discuss key issues including infrastructure planning, public transport, health services, education and important support for our growing community. These discussions help ensure the needs and aspirations of Augusta Margaret River continue to be heard at state level, and I can assure you we'll be continuing in that vein. Finally, I would like to acknowledge the tragic loss of Loz Scanlon. Her passionate love and hard work for the environment and all people will continue to inspire us. Life is indeed hard and there is great suffering, often unseen or unknown. Together, as a whole community, we can keep shining the lights of kindness and compassion for each other. So thank you. We now move on to item 12, reports of committees and officer reports. And the first report we have before us is item 11.2.1, the RFT for the Wadandi track construction. And the director was going to elbow me, but just a quick statement.
Excuse me.
Oh.
Yep. Just by way of clarification, the recommendation refers to respondent A. That correlates to respondent 1 in the confidential attachment.
Thank you, Mr. Logan. Yeah. Thank you. Do I have a councillor who would like to move a motion for this? Councillor Bell? Thank you. Do I have a councillor who would like to second this motion? Thank you, Councillor Dath. Councillor Bell?
I commend the staff and the tenderers for the quality of the work that's come through. I also thank Nick and Dave and the whole team for what is a really exciting project. Keep up the good work, and I'm looking forward to these guys hitting the ground and getting this track in place.
Thank you, Councillor Dath. Yes, Councillor Boland.
Yes, thank you. No, just a minor detail. It was actually tenderer one. I'm wondering if we can put tenderer one. Sorry, it's just going to be in the clarification. The director provided clarification on attachment 1, and the reference to respondent A refers to, I believe it's tenderer 1 in the confidential attachment.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. I'm sure we can amend that appropriately. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Councillors, would anyone else like to speak to this? No? I must say, I share the feelings of fellow councillors. This is a very exciting initiative, and it's certainly involved a number of different agencies, and there's a huge amount of work behind it. But it will be an exciting thing for locals, and I think in terms of for our visitor economy as well. So I do commend this. Councillors, can we put this to the vote, please? All those in favour? And that was carried unanimously. Thank you. We now move on to item 11.2.2, the Planning Policy Review. Thank you, Councillor Bell. Do I have a councillor who would be willing to put a motion on the table? Oh, okay, sorry. And I'll just wait for Councillor Kennell to come back in. Yeah, thank you, Councillor Kennell. Just to let you know, that was passed unanimously. Councillor Dath. Thank you. Councillor Dath? As written, do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Boland. Councillor Dath.
Yeah, I just want to ask a question from the deputation that we were given to officers. Can I just confirm, because I'm just going back and trying to find it, these character controls for Witchcliffe, there's nothing to do with the changing of streetscape in this character controls?
No, that's right, Councillor. So the policy that's before you tonight deals only with the private realm, whereas the deputation, I think, focused more on the public realm.
I just wanted to clarify I hadn't missed anything. So, yeah, I'm very happy with all the work that I read for this, and, yeah, commend it to my other councillors.
Councillor Boland.
Just say that a lot of good work's been done by the administration on preparing a number of local planning policies which cover a number of different areas. It's an enormous amount of work, and appreciated by your council and the community. Hopefully the Witchcliffe character policies are satisfactory to Witchcliffe. We've heard tonight quite passionate address by the chairman of the Witchcliffe Community Association, and we are doing hopefully a very good thing about preserving the unique character of Witchcliffe, and retaining that and enhancing that. And we have other things coming for other localities, but we have we've done that one. It provides a lot of good guidance for how things move forward in Witchcliffe, in quite a booming community. Mr. Giles was referring to how much greater population there is around there, and we're having to deal with that. And then we've covered a whole lot of other things in these policies, helping us go forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. Would any other councillor like to speak to this? No? Thank you. And I agree with my fellow councillors. I think there's a lot of work here, and I'm particularly pleased with the extractive policy to see annual audits being required and also a focus on compliance. I think that's really important, and I'm pleased to see that will be followed through. Thank you. Councillors, can we put that to the vote, please? All those in favour? Thank you. That was carried unanimously, and we'll invite Councillor Bell back. Thank you, councillors. We now move on to item 11.2.3, continuation of the FOGO service. Do I have a councillor who would like to move a motion? Thank you, Councillor Dath. As written, do I have a councillor to second that motion? Councillor Boland, thank you. Councillor Dath?
Yeah, I'm just like to say that I'm really happy that there's finally an interim solution to our FOGO situation. I really want to thank the staff for not giving up on this issue. There's been a lot of advocacy from the Shire President and the CEO and the whole team to make sure that this that a solution has, been found. Thank you. Yeah, and also these recommendations that are up here talking about trying to increase the SWIFT rebate. I commend that. I hope we do well with that. And I commend how it's been addressed in the fees and charges so that the cost is not actually going to impact our ratepayers. And then it'll be a job passed on to our communications team to re-educate the public. So anyone listening, please, we are going to start using the green bins for composting again only and green waste, and we really need to concentrate on keeping our contamination down as low as possible, or it may cost us more. So yeah, I really commend this to my fellow councillors, and I'm really happy to see this on the agenda tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dath. Councillor Boland.
Yes, we've had a difficult problem the last almost 2 years now with what's been happening with FOGO, which is something that should just happen. It's something that it really is a bit of a no-brainer that we should be doing this for our waste, the FOGO waste, rather than what has been happening recently. I concur with Councillor Darth about the education part of this, because that's what led to the failure of the scheme previously, although we were apparently the best in this group of local governments. Hopefully our community will again be the best in those that rejoin the program. I think we need to have a very strong education program. I know it is part of what's being considered here, and educate our community, because there can be a little bit of complexity about what does go into the FOGO bin. Is it this disposable coffee cup? Can that go in or not? So I think we need to, obviously, there's far more things that can go into your FOGO bin, but we need to let people know what they can and can't, so we don't run the risk of the scheme collapsing again. It's good to see the state government providing some support. We'd probably like to see, well, we want to see as much as possible, and eventually a local solution would be probably the most desirable. I think our agenda item does really set out the options that we had there, and the local, our own local facility would not be practical, feasible, financially responsible, unfortunately. I think we've come of those options, we've definitely come to the best possible option, and hopefully other councils will join in. There's indications there of at least one, and hopefully more. And then it's over to our CEO to do some negotiations around how we get the best possible outcome here. But it's a big step forward to have this on our agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. Would any other councillors like to speak to this? Thank you, Councillor Keno.
Sorry, I support the officer's recommendation. I just hope that people can remember how good they were at it before we lost the service, because we were really good at it, and hopefully we can get back there very quickly. Just in addition to all of that, I just wanted to acknowledge the work that Chris Yates has put into this. It's been a really long, hard haul, and there's been so many pieces that move with this, and hopefully we'll have a good outcome from it going forward. So, yep, thank you.
Would any other councillor like to speak to this? No, thank you. I certainly concur with the comments made, and thank Chris Yates for his hard work and other team members. And I'm just so pleased that we are not going to be sending FOGO to landfill anymore. That's a really pleasing outcome, and ultimately, even if we are transporting it further, it will mean less impact on our environment, less methane gas, and I guess ensuring that we are again the model council. We achieved one of the lowest contamination rates, and I think we can do that again. And hopefully, by supporting this, we also encourage other councillors to follow suit and not send their waste to landfill, which is currently happening. So I certainly commend this and thank everyone for their hard work. Councillors, can we put this to the vote, please? All those in favour? And that's carried unanimously. Thank you. We now move on to item 11.3.1, submissions on proposed 2026-27 differential rates. Councillors, do I have anyone willing to move a motion? Councillor Keno.
As written, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Keno. And a seconder? Councillor Boland. Councillor Keno.
Thank you.
Councillor Boland. Thank you. I think we went through a really robust process of receiving submissions and responding to the submissions received. So I'm really pleased to support this motion as written. Councillors, can we put it to the vote, please? All those in favour? And that was carried unanimously. Thank you. I now move on to item 11.3.2, adoption of 2026-27 differential rates, minimum payments and rate concessions. And I just want to note there was a typographical, no, I can't say. Typographical, thank you, error was made in the officer recommendation in this report. Point 3, both columns under minimum payment heading should read $114 and not $137. Thank you. Councillors, do I have anyone willing to move a motion, please? Thank you, Councillor Keno.
No, as written.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Dath. Councillor Keno.
I guess we've been through this one a bit, but I guess rates are never an easy conversation because we all understand the cost of living pressures facing our community. But at the same time, council's got a responsibility to ensure that we can continue to deliver the infrastructure service and facilities that our residents rely on every day. I really appreciate the process that this proposal's been through, and it's not been rushed. There's been extensive community consultation, including a second round of consultation after the changes were made to the original proposal. And I guess that demonstrates our willingness to listen and adapt where we're appropriate and where we can. At the end of the day, no rating model will satisfy everyone, but I believe this recommendation strikes a reasonable balance between financial responsibility, fairness across the different rating categories, and ensuring that we remain financially sustainable into the future. So, I support the officer's recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Keno. Councillor Dath. Would any other councillor like to speak to this? No. Yes, Councillor Keno, I think that was very articulate and I think you encapsulated it beautifully. Councillors, could we put this to the vote, please? All those in favour? Sorry, we've just lost contact with our Shire President. Great. So Shire President Jean Rice, we are just putting item 11.3.2 to the vote. Councillors, if we could all do that again, sorry. Could we please put it to the vote? All those in favour, raise your hand. Thank you. That was carried unanimously. We now move on to item 11.3.3, the 2026-27 annual budget. Councillors, do I have someone who would be willing to move this, please? Councillor Keno, thank you.
Thank you.
And do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Dath. Councillor Keno.
You'll be pleased to know I'm keeping all my notes very short tonight. Firstly, I want to acknowledge yet again Director Stevens and her staff. There's an enormous amount of work that's gone into preparing this budget. Sitting here tonight and, you know, from the audience or wherever, it might just look like we're ticking boxes, but we've spent days, hours, and no, Director Stevens has spent months and months preparing this. So thank you for all of the work. And they've also responded to councillor feedback through workshops and balancing what are always competing priorities. I think every year we face the same challenge. There are always more worthwhile projects and available funding. The reality is that the budget is about making difficult decisions and finding the best balance for the whole community. I believe this budget achieves balance. It continues to invest in roads, community infrastructure, environmental initiatives, and the services our residents expect while maintaining responsible financial management. We also need to remember that this isn't simply about next year. Every decision we make today has an impact on future councils and future ratepayers. Supporting a financially responsible budget today helps ensure that we remain in a strong position to respond to future opportunities and challenges. While there'll always be individual projects that people would like to see funded sooner, I believe this budget represents considered, responsible and balanced approach, and I'm pleased to support it. No budget's ever perfect because at the end, because every one of us could probably name another project worthy of funding. However, I think this budget represents good stewardship of public money and I'm comfortable supporting it because I believe it reflects the best interests of our community as a whole.
Thank you, Councillor Keno. Councillor Dath.
I just don't want to repeat. Councillor Keno summed it up beautifully there. I just want to reiterate my thanks to Director Stevens and her team for the work that was put into this and the many briefings from all the different business units to council over the last few months. What you see is tables and numbers, but we got, you know, in-depth delivery from each business unit as to what that actually looks like on the ground. So I really appreciate those briefings and understanding where every cent's going. And it's really lovely to see those tables where right at the end there's a little zero balance sheet. So I'm hoping, you know, when we come back this time next year, it looks pretty similar. So yeah, well done and thank you. And I commend this to the rest of my councillors. Thank you.
Thank you. Would any other councillor like to speak to this? No. Well, in conclusion, I do want to concur with the statements made, and I do want to thank Director Stevens and her team, because I know they've been doing 12-hour days regularly, which really indicates, I guess, the huge workload required and the dedication of our staff. We have gone through the roads, the cost of, I guess, fixing different roads. We've looked at all of our services, 200 buildings which require maintenance and ongoing upkeep. We've gone through each element of our services. We've looked at our business teams, we've spoken to managers and I guess prioritised which projects happen when, and we've looked at our long-term financial plan to really ensure that we are getting the best bang for buck for our community. And I can assure you that we are advocating for some of those projects that may not be in this year's budget, but we really want to include them. So I think I commend this to my fellow councillors. Can we please put it to the vote? All those in favour? Thank you. That was carried unanimously. I now move on to item 11.3.4, the Corporate Business Plan 2026-30. Do I have a councillor who'd be willing to move this? Councillor Bell, thank you.
I move it as written, thanks.
Thank you. Do I have a councillor to second this? Councillor Keno, thank you. Councillor Bell.
Thank you. Once again, I'd like to thank Director Stevens for all the hard work that's been put into this and the budget, because the two documents do align. I'd also just like to highlight the really important role of planning, development and infrastructure services in achieving the outcomes of the strategic community plan. Now, that's not necessarily reflected in the services as written on the plan. For example, the services related to the natural environment outcomes are not reflected in the services table. I haven't prepared any amendment to that because I know that the staff are actually achieving this through their work, and it is actually interwoven in what they've done. But I just think that we need to be aware of a disconnect and to recognise the really important role that planning and development plays in achieving nearly all of our outcomes, and to ensure that moving forward they're adequately resourced and supported to do those roles.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Councillor Keno?
Yeah, this corporate business plan is probably one of the best documents I've seen. It provides a really clear picture of our community, our demographics, our assets and our responsibilities, where we are today and where we're planning to be. It's comprehensive without being overcomplicated, and it's got the information presented in a really straightforward, easy to follow way, which is perfect for someone like me. And if I was recommending a book-to-book club, this would be it. I don't have time for book club, but it really does set the picture. So yeah, look, the document's an absolute credit to everyone involved, to Director Stevens, Stacey and the whole team, yet again setting the bar really high. Well done to all, and I'm very happy to support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Keno. Would any other councillor like to speak to this? No, thank you. I do have to agree with Councillor Keno. It's an excellent document, and I was really pleased to, I guess, look through it, and you can see some things. Some highlights for me was the implementation of the biodiversity strategy, the fire break notice review. Considering we live in an extreme fire risk area, I'm really pleased to see this review taking place to ensure that we can adequately address the risk and protect our natural values. The economic strategy, that is essential that we have a flourishing local economy, and also the establishment of the agricultural reference group. Agriculture is key to our identity and our sense of place, and also fundamental to our local economy. So I'm really pleased to see these in the corporate business plan. Councillors, can we please put this to the vote? All those in favour? Thank you. That was carried unanimously. We now move on to item 11.3.5, the financial activity statement for May 2026. Do I have a councillor who'd be willing to move this? Councillor Winter. Thank you. Do I have a councillor to second it? Councillor Bell. Thank you. Councillor Winter. Councillor Bell. Thank you. Well, this continues the great work of Director Stevens, and I certainly commend this report. Councillors, could we please put it to the vote? Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. And that's carried unanimously. And we have similarly the list of payments for June 2026, item 11.3.6. Councillors, do I have anyone willing to put this forward? Great. Councillor Winter? As written, and seconded by Councillor Forte. Thank you. Councillor Winter? As written, I'm happy with it. Councillor Forte? Thank you. Councillors, can we please put this to the vote? All those in support? Thank you. That was carried unanimously. Now we move on to item 11.3.7, the privacy policy. Do I have a councillor who would like to move this? Councillor Bell. And yes?
I move the motion subject to the following amendment. So I move that Council adopts the amended privacy policy as contained in attachment 1 with the following changes. So number 1, the wording in clause 1, collection of personal information, is to be amended as follows. And the paragraph will read, the Shire will collect... Oh, have we got the wording? The Shire will only collect personal information, including sensitive personal information that is necessary to perform its functions or activities. Collection must be fair and reasonable in circumstances and must not be done in an unreasonably intrusive way. At or before the time of collection, the Shire will take reasonable steps to ensure individuals are informed of the identity of the Shire and how to contact it, the purpose for which the information is collected, whether it is usually disclosed and to whom, any law requiring the collection and the consequences of not providing it. In some circumstances, the Shire may collect sensitive personal information. Where the Shire does collect sensitive personal information, it will only do so where the individual has consented, where collection is required or authorised by law, where it is necessary to lessen or prevent a serious threat to the life, health, safety or welfare of any individual, or where otherwise permitted under the Privacy and Responsible Information Sharing Act. Sensitive personal information is subject to stricter access controls than other personal information and will not be disclosed without the individual's consent, except as required or authorised by law. Number 2, the inclusion of additional clause titled Information, Retention and Disposal, which contains the following wording. The Shire will take reasonable steps to destroy or permanently de-identify personal information once it is no longer needed for the purpose for which it was collected, unless the retention is required or authorised by law. Retention periods are governed by the State Records Act 2000 and applicable general disposal authorities issued by the State Records Office of Western Australia. Where a retention period applies, personal information will be held securely for the period and disposal of in accordance with the approved schedule once it expires.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Do we have a seconder for this motion? Thank you, Councillor Daff. Councillor Bell.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks to the team for preparing this policy. It is a requirement under state legislation. The amendments that I have made really are to, I guess, tighten up the approach to how we handle sensitive personal information. One of the purposes of this policy is to dictate how we handle personal information. I think that being that the retention, disposal and de-identification of that information are really critical elements to how it is handled. So I think for the purpose of this policy, that needs to be evident up front. But otherwise, I think it's a really great policy, and I thank staff for their hard work.
Thank you, Councillor Bell. Councillor Dath.
Yeah, thank you. I probably had a similar couple of reservations when reading this policy first as Councillor Bell, so I'm very glad to see her amendments that she's put forward. I think it's very important that we allow the public to know that we take their sensitive information seriously and that we aren't overstepping and there's no overreach here. So I think this is a public perception thing as well, so I commend the amendments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Dath. Would any other councillors like to speak to this? No, thank you. I'd like to thank Councillor Bell. I think this is some important extra additions, and certainly considering the landscape at the moment with data breaches, I think we need to be really cognizant that we are only collecting what is required and that we do dispose appropriately of any sensitive information. So thank you. I commend this to my fellow councillors. Could we please put it to the vote? All those in favour? Thank you. That was carried unanimously. We now move on to item 11.4.1, Barrett Street Weir trial closure and evaluation. Councillors, do I have anyone willing to put a motion on the table? Councillor Bell.
I move the motion as written.
Thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Keno, thank you. Councillor Bell.
Just briefly, I'd just like to thank Director Byrne and his staff for the hard work that has gone into this project. A really considerable body of public and stakeholder engagement and consultation. We have responded, we've really listened to what the community has said, we've taken their feedback on board, and we've modified our policy accordingly. So thank you for that, and I commend this policy.
Councillor Keno. Do I have any other councillor who'd like to speak to this? No, I certainly agree with Councillor Bell. I think it's been great that we've actually developed a community reference group, that we've taken on their suggestions and that we've enacted them. It's great to see a reduction in antisocial behaviour and protection, I guess, of that environment, which is really important. I guess comments were made that some camping has moved to other areas, and it's pleasing to see that we will be looking at piloting an overflow facility in our Shire, and I think that's a really important next step. So I look forward to continuing to manage this issue over time. Councillors, could we please put this to the vote? All those in favour? Thank you. That was carried unanimously. We now move on to item 12, motions from members of which previous notice has been given. 12.1, funding for local climate action, a fossil fuel levy for local government. Councillor Boland.
Yes, I'd like to move this as written.
Thank you. And do we have a seconder? Councillor Dath. Councillor Boland.
Yes, thank you, Madam Deputy President. This is something that has been coming up all around Australia, and it's about putting something on the agenda for the Wulga AGM, which is coming up shortly. And part of the process there is that something that goes on the agenda there comes through a local government, and Wulga needs notification of that by close of business tomorrow. So that's why it's come up at this particular meeting. And it's following on from ELGA, the Australian Local Government Association, passing the same resolution at their conference in June, just recently. Part of putting the motion up to the Wulga AGM is that you have a comment in support, and that's in the agenda, and I'll just refer to some of that. You put something in brief, a summary of what the motion is about. So what would go with this motion is the costs of climate disaster response and readiness confronting local governments are fast outpacing the willingness or capacity of state and federal governments to finance the shortfall. A supplementary sustainable funding source must be found. The next dot point is very important. Across Australia, local councils collectively own and manage billions of dollars in infrastructure currently threatened by climate-impacted events, including storms, floods, water damage and bushfires. And I'll just diverge from that at the moment to bring it bring it home to us. We just had a presentation today on CHARMAP, the Coastal Hazard Risk Management and Adaptation Plan. And this is really about adaptation to the effects of climate change. And we found we have a number of hotspots: Narrabri, Prevelly, Gracetown, Augusta, and particular assets that are going to be impacted, particularly because we are a local government with a lot of ocean frontage and even rivers as well. Particularly the ocean frontage, sea level rise is going to be a significant impact on us, and even already we're looking at managed retreat for coastal infrastructure, car parks, toilets, paths, roads, and we've committed to the Narrabri Prevelly path being removed further away from where it is now at a very significant cost. So this is already starting to impact, and it's costing local governments an enormous amount, and it's going to be an unsustainable financial burden on us. I mean, another example that came up today was sand nourishment at Narrabri, already costing us for doing that. There really needs to be some funding to deal with those impacts we're having financially. So Walga's got a position already, the climate change advocacy position, which was adopted recently, and part of that was that Walga would call on Australian and West Australian governments to ensure that local government has the funding guidance and practical support required to meet increasing risk and expanded legislative requirements to plan for, mitigate and adapt to climate impacts. So this is something that will be debated at the Walga AGM, and I can say that confidently because other councils have already passed this in WA. Vincent has passed it, East Fremantle has passed it, and I assume they will have passed that on to the to Walga, and it would definitely be on the agenda. It was raised at a number of local governments so that it would get on the agenda, so that there could be advocacy around a number of things. So in the motion is acknowledging the increasing costs of climate change, including disaster recovery from storms, floods, bushfires, and then community resilience building for heat waves and sea level rise. So, I mean, I mentioned some of the impacts just now, but just in the last few weeks, we've seen extreme storms, the highest wind gust ever at Cape Naturalist. We had so much clean-up to do, and I think we're still doing it, cost involved in all that. So this is the second part of the motion, is recognising the inequity about local governments and communities having to bear those costs despite not being responsible for, and there's some statistics around 75% of the climate pollution which is generated by major coal, oil and gas corporations. So then it calls upon the federal government to establish a parliamentary inquiry into the adequacy of the 2025 National Adaptation Plan, specifically addressing the lack of additional funding for local governments. So then that inquiry to identify concrete revenue sources to meet investment needs, and that could include the implementation of taxes or levies on the coal, oil and gas industries aligned with climate change. And then fifthly, establish a national climate compensation fund with a dedicated funding stream for local governments commensurate with the scale of financial risks identified in that 2025 assessment. So it's putting our voice to what needs to be done to raise finance to deal with the costs that we are having to bear. So I yes, put this forward so that it can come up at the Wolga AGM. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Boland. Councillor Dath. Thank you. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to this? No. Thank you, Councillor Boland, for bringing this before us. I think it's really important. We've acknowledged from our briefings, and I guess anyone who walks along our local beaches and sees the impact of erosion and then the cost, I guess, and that's ongoing. There's simply inadequate funding to support this, is inadequate grant funding, and we really need to future-proof ourselves, and we need to advocate to get, I guess, a compensation fund established. So I think this is a really important motion, and I commend it to my fellow councillors. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. That was carried unanimously. Thank you, Councillor. We now move on to item 13, motions for consideration at next meeting, and we have none. And I move on to item 14, new business of an urgent nature, and we have none before us. Item 15, confidential business, we have none. And item 16, it's closure of the meeting. Thank you so much to people from the public gallery who've attended. We really appreciate it. Thank you for coming. And thank you to anyone who's attending online. And thank you to Shire President Jean Rice. Great to see you. Thank you. Thanks, everyone. It's closed at 6:34 p.m.